United's Polaris business class is among the best products offered in the United States. Tonight, we're making a long trip to Johannesburg, South Africa on board the state-of-the-art 787-9 Dreamliner in Polaris. It's going to be an incredible ride, and I can't wait to share it with you. Our adventure starts at Dulles. We'll fly for an hour up to Newark on a 737-900ER, spend 2.5 hours there, then board the Dreamliner and spend the next 13 hours and 40 minutes crossing the Atlantic Ocean before landing in Johannesburg around 6 tomorrow evening. Any airline's fleet can vary greatly as far as in-flight amenities, but when you fly United, you can take some of the guessing out of it. Using their fleet website, which I'll link below, in the days leading up to your flight, you can find out your exact tail number and see whether it has in-seat power, personal in-flight entertainment, what kind of Wi-Fi, and other helpful tidbits so you know exactly what to expect on board. Using this site, I can also see that both my rides will be in the old Globe livery. Oh well. When I fly out of Dulles, I typically use one of the long-term economy parking lots. From there, the shuttle will pick you up and drop you off on the lower level of their iconic main terminal. Because Dulles is so big, that ride alone can take up to half an hour even if there aren't a lot of other passengers around, so plan accordingly for that. Polaris class and Premier 1K members are welcome to use the Premier Access check-in counter, which was nice and quick. After clearing security, we head down to the train that'll take us to the sea gates for our departure. The train is quick enough, and before long we're in the sea gates. Concourses C and D at Dulles are connected, but they're so big that there are separate trains to each one. We make our way through the bland concourse to a place that's very not bland. United's Polaris Lounge is the consensus best lounge in the United States. Unlike the United Club, where any card holder or passenger with $50 can get in, Polaris lounges are reserved exclusively for Polaris passengers. They feature an elevated level of food and drink service, as well as a la carte dining and other premium amenities. American Airlines also has their Flyjet lounges to complement the Admirals Club, and Delta is beginning to roll out Delta One lounges to supplement their Delta Sky Clubs. I'm going to wait until the Polaris Lounge in Newark to try their signature burger. For now, I have some salmon, pasta, and asparagus soup, and hang out in the lounge to watch some planes. This hits the spot right now. I arrived at the lounge at around 3:30 and definitely beat the crowd. By the time I left, around 4:45, seats were hard to find. It's the start of the transatlantic rush here at Dulles. This 767 is going to Munich tonight. A few gates down is our ride to Newark. It's the final 737 next generation in United's fleet. Delivered in December 2016, it's just over 7 years old. And this is the outbound leg of our flight home at the end of the week. They're headed to Cape Town tonight. United boards by group number, like all major airlines now that Delta has joined the party. First class boards in Group 1 after active duty military, families with small kids, and Premier 1K members, United's highest level of status. United's domestic first class product is a pretty standard recliner seat. This aircraft doesn't have seatback entertainment yet, but it does have universal outlets. After a pre-departure offering of water or champagne, I picked the water, we push out of our gate on time and head off to Newark. These two aircraft are headed to Reykjavik and Doha tonight. Where would you rather go? Iceland is very high on my bucket list, but so is a flight on Qatar's stunning 777-300ER. I can't pick. After a longer pushback than I thought was normal, we begin our taxi and join the runway 1 right departure queue. I think. But we taxi right past the runway threshold. This is annoying and honestly part of what you get when you fly to New York. In such crowded airspaces like New York, you need to ensure that there's a landing slot available for you when you get there. That is to say, you can't go if there's no room for you. Longer flights can adjust their airspeeds enough to fit into the arriving traffic pattern, but on short flights like Boston, Washington, Richmond, or Baltimore, your waiting is done on the ground. We pull off to the side and shut our engines down. I think the long pushback caused us to miss our arrival slot into Newark. My connection to Newark is 2 hours and 20 minutes, but there are plenty of passengers whose connections are shorter than that. I certainly empathize with them. But there's not a lot we can do right now. At least we get a front row seat to a pretty awesome line of departures during the evening rush hour. Finally, after about 35 minutes, our engines come back to life. We cut right in front of the 777 and A340 and get on our way to Newark. It's a pretty bumpy climb out of Dulles. I thought we were in the clear to head to Newark. We all did. But shortly after departure, the pilot announced that we would have to enter another holding pattern above Baltimore for 20 more minutes. You could hear the audible groan from the passengers, as our delays would stack up to about an hour now. On my side of the aircraft, we got an excellent view of my home airport, BWI, as well as downtown Baltimore, and the site of the collapse of the Key Bridge about a month prior. The additional flight time did allow the cabin crew to serve drinks. If you didn't think you wanted a drink before this, you definitely needed one now. We're still flying in circles. Finally, we exit our holding pattern and continue up the Susquehanna River to Newark. I had 2 hours and 20 minutes. Now, after those delays, I have about an hour and a half. Boarding is 50 minutes before departure, and I want to be on board as soon as I can to get settled in and get some footage of the seat and the cabin. So I have about 40 minutes now to deplane, get to the sea gates, and eat my Polaris burger. This is going to be tighter than it needs to be. In hindsight, I obviously should have eaten at Dulles. The time would have made a lot more sense with a meal around 4 p.m. at Dulles and dinner on the plane around 10 p.m. I also had all the time in the world to get there, and nothing is guaranteed during the connection. Hopefully I get there in time to sit down and eat. If not, oh well, I hope I have another chance to try it again one day. As we taxi to the gate, the flight attendant read gate assignments for the connecting flights departing within the hour. Most passengers had to take the intra-terminal bus, which is not fast.
The United app and double check on the screen as things can change. Bangor, Maine, Charlie, that's C84, Charlie 84, San Juan, Puerto Rico, gate A14, Wilmington, North Carolina, C70, Portland, Maine, A16,
We arrive at the A gates at Newark at 7:34. We board at 8:30. That feels like enough time, I think. The good news is the A gates are the newest at Newark and look awesome. The bad news is they are not the C gates, where the Polaris Lounge and our next flight can both be found. To get there, I have to find the bus service to Terminal C. This seems as good a time as any for a fire drill, I guess. I find the bus without much issue and hop aboard. Buses, unlike trams, usually wait to fill up before they leave. That makes them slower than their counterparts on rails. But they have one advantage, and that is up-close views of the action on the ramp. Unfortunately, they're also susceptible to holding for other traffic. All in all, it's about a half-hour ordeal from the A gates to the C gates, which is a lot longer than that short distance should take. After getting off the bus, I head right to the Polaris Lounge. I have only heard absolutely rave reviews of this lounge, and I can't wait to give it a try. Unfortunately, because of how long the bus took, I'm only giving myself about 20 minutes in here. You should allow yourself about 45 minutes if you're sitting down for table service. Anyway, sure enough, this space is impeccable. It's cozy, comfortable, and spacious, with excellent service and great views of the ramp. I grab a little bowl of pasta and a Kentucky-style water, and relax before heading to my gate. Our departure gate of C110 isn't far from the Polaris Lounge. I arrive right as they're boarding Group 1. My excitement levels are off the wall right now. My longest flight to date in anything more than economy seat was first class from Salt Lake City to Washington this past January, and I've never been in a lie flat seat before. This is shaping up to be the best flight of my life. Waiting for us is the 8-year-old Dreamliner that'll operate United Flight 188 to Johannesburg tonight. I scan my boarding pass, show my passport, and walk on board to my home for the next 14 hours, seat 11A. The 48 United Polaris business class seats on this 7879 are 20 inches wide and convert into a 6'6" lie flat bed with the help of these controls. They feature a reading light, a storage cabinet, universal and USB outlets, a remote for the screen, even though the screen is a touchscreen, a smaller cubby good for phones, a second USB outlet, and a very good sized tray table that can stay folded in half or completely unfold for meal service or any work you want to get done. Waiting for me on the seat was an amenity kit with everything you could need to keep you fresh. A memory foam pillow, both a throw blanket and a comforter provided by Saks Fifth Avenue, and a big pillow, which is a really nice and thick pillow by airplane standards. United's in-flight entertainment on their long-haul fleet is some of the best in the US. Once we tap our screen, you can choose your language and see what you can expect during this flight. They suggest a number of programs to you right away. At any point, no matter what's on your screen, you can view this flight info tab that's supposed to have the flight number, as well as distance to go, a map, and other helpful features. The map worked once we were airborne. You can also dim your windows from your screen, if that's easier for you than the button to your left. This feature is, of course, unique to the 787 family, as those are the only aircraft with dimmable windows. Of course, they feature an incredibly broad selection with thousands of hours of movies, shows, games, documentaries, and everything you could need to keep yourself entertained for even their longest flights. According to the website Simple Flying, the 7,989 miles from Newark to Johannesburg make it the fourth longest flight by distance in the airline's network, after San Francisco to Singapore, Houston to Sydney, and Newark to Hong Kong. So we should be able to take full advantage of everything Polaris has to offer while still getting a full night's sleep. Tonight's menu offers beef, chicken, shrimp, or vegetables as the main course. I pre-ordered the beef, and I encourage you to pre-order whenever possible as it makes a cruise life easier and ensures they have your top choice. An extensive wine list was also offered, but who needs a wine list when they have bottomless bourbon at your disposal? Bottles of water were handed out, and we're about ready to get out of here. We push out of our gate right on time and make the taxi out to runway 22 right. We're later than most of the traffic, so it's a pretty quick taxi. And before you know it, we're off. This Dreamliner gracefully yet powerfully blasts out of Newark, and we leave the glistening lights of New York City behind as we begin our journey east over the open ocean. Shortly after takeoff, the start of dinner service is marked with a hot towel. Dinner kicks off with a bowl of warm assorted nuts and a glass of bourbon. A water too, of course, as staying hydrated is 95% of your key to success on a long flight. Dinner is presented all at once rather than course by course. I got the radish appetizer, and the meal comes with a side salad, a roll, rice, and roasted peppers. The beef was tender beyond belief, and the flavor was perfect. This was the best meal I've ever had in the sky. For dessert, United offers their signature ice cream sundae cart with vanilla ice cream and plenty of toppings. I got syrup, whipped cream, and a cherry. I haven't had a sundae this good in who knows how long. After dinner, even though the pilots left the wing lights on, everyone got settled in for the long flight ahead. On flights over 14 hours, you can request pajamas. I get ready for bed and recline the seat fully 180 to watch some TV before bed. It's cozy for sure, but extremely comfortable. The odd-numbered window seats feel especially private since they're all the way against the wall. It's close to midnight now, so I'm going to try to do something I can almost never do on planes: get some sleep. I wake up 9 hours later. I can't believe how well I slept. The sun is fully up now, as you can see outside the fully dim setting on the window. We're about 2 hours from our destination and probably 45 minutes or so from breakfast. As the cabin starts to come to life, I take a walk around. United 787s feature a pretty standard 333 layout in economy. 14 hours is a long time in these seats. Breakfast is served about 90 minutes prior to landing. I chose the egg white and pepper jack bites, which came with a chicken sausage, fruit, yogurt, and a croissant. This was undoubtedly the best breakfast I've ever had in the air. After a perfect flight, we're on approach into Johannesburg. This is my first time to South Africa. Many travelers say that they sleep better on newer aircraft like the 787 or A350 than they do on older jets. That could partially be because they're quieter, but it's mostly because the air is actually better. You see, the older metal frames can't put up with air that's too thick because the moisture and thicker air will rust the airframe. The result is thin, dry air, and you'll wake up with a dry mouth. The new composite materials that make up the 787 and A350 can stand much denser air, so you'll get a much better night's sleep. You've heard me refer to this as Polaris Business Class. United will be the first to make clear to you that this is not a true international first-class product. That's nearly non-existent in the United States, aside from American's flagship first product on their 777-300ERs, and even that's on its way out. True first-class seats like those on the Middle East Airlines, Air France La Première, or Korean Air's Cosmo Suites, to name a few, are mini rooms on the plane, with seats the size of a couch, sometimes showers, and ridiculous dining services that like 7-course meals. International business class takes up less than half the room, but still usually features a lie-flat seat, like Polaris. To be honest, I didn't feel like I needed any more space than this, and this flight was about as long as most flights will ever get. This flight exceeded my sky-high expectations in every way. My longest and best flight of my life to date is now over, and I'm so grateful for the opportunity to have experienced it. The crew did an incredible job making the experience feel special and personal. The food was restaurant quality, the seat was incredibly comfortable, just top to bottom, this was a perfect flight. It was absolutely the best of United Airlines. I also want to extend a special thank you to the person whose generosity made this experience possible. You know who you are, and sincerely thank you. I hope you've enjoyed this flight as much as I have. I have more awesome content like this coming soon and you won't want to miss it, so be sure to like this video and subscribe so you can experience more incredible travels with me. Until next time.